Hello YouTube family, and welcome back to Lady Tiz Exotics. Today I thought it would be a good time to talk about the value perception of the animals we breed. Specifically today I'm going to be talking about the reticulated python because of a lot of the conversation over the last couple weeks. Take the information that's given to you. Know when to sit down, sit back, and just take all of the information in, and then utilize the information. Analyze it as you see fit, right? Determine what actions could you do today. What is the 2-3 things you possibly could do today to help the situation? And so I came up with 3 things that I could do today as a small breeder of reticulated pythons. I'm not a big breeder of reticulated pythons. Will never be a big breeder of them. Even with the clutch I had, as beautiful as they are, I'm not holding a lot of them back. I have no intentions on overproducing these animals because that is part of the problem. We know that. But now that we know that it's part of the problem, how can we correct that? And the first thing I thought about was correcting the overall value perception of the animal. And that is up to us as breeders first to do, and then that will trickle down to the keeper. I did property management for many years. I retired as a regional property manager, and one of the things I used to always say to my teams when I was on site about the cleanliness of a property and how that trickles into the resident base keeping it clean. What they see is what they will do, right? And I kind of apply this to this concept as well. So one of the first things I want to talk about is changing the value perception of how much a reticulated python should cost. Right now I'm off market, and I'm guilty of this too. Not much, but I am guilty of this to be competitive in the market. There are over 64% of the listed reticulated pythons that are listed less than $1,000. That's a problem. Definitely, in my opinion, and I recently shared this with a good friend, I don't think a reticulated python should ever be less than $1,000. I just don't think that it should. I probably have only one in here that was less than $1,000 that I purchased, and I never would have questioned as a person purchasing a reticulated python the cost if it was over $1,000. We need to correct that, and I wanted to just kind of touch bases on what value is. Value, Google's definition: the regard that something is held to deserve, the importance, worth, or usefulness of something. Your support is of great value, for an example. What we need to do is start with the fact that this is a luxury animal. That's the best way for me to place it. So just like, you know, men, you can relate, your wife's pocketbooks and shoes that you may have paid or she may have paid more than $1,500 for are treated totally different from the shoes that we purchase on a whim and probably pay a couple $100 or $80 or $50 for. Those shoes are normally nicely placed in cloth bags or satin bags before they even go in the box, and then properly stored, for example. So using that value perception on reticulated pythons, I can tell you, as a person who is breeding and selling them currently, my first trigger or flag is when a person questions the price of the reticulated python that is purchased. And what I mean by that is that nothing is listed excessive, right? That I've seen. But if someone questions why a valued animal of, let's just say $1,300 is, can I get it for less? That's a trigger for me, because it already tells me that that person devalues the animal that they purchased. Because let me tell you, what's not going to be something that you can purchase or do for less once you own it. You're going to have to spend money on the housing of that animal consistently if you don't do it right the first time around, or if you know, most people quarantine small enclosure, you know, tubs and things like that, which is smart, and then build the forever home for that animal. Or some people do it gradually. They start off with the tubs and then they build the secondary home and then build the forever home. That's just not the most economical way, I think, but you know, to each its own. However, when a customer say, can I get it for cheaper, it tells me that you're not prepared to take care of this animal for the term of the life, because you're not going to be able to cheap out on the care of it. You're not going to be able to cheap out on the enclosure. You're not going to be able to cheap out on the time you're going to have to give this animal. You're not going to be able to cheap out on the food that you're going to need to feed this animal, and you're not going to be able to cheap out on vet care if you need an issue with your animal that's beyond your treatment measures or beyond your expertise, because everybody has different level of expertise with these animals. But most of us would need to take it to a vet for most of the medical conditions they see that's beyond a health issue, viral, or anything like that. We will be taking it to the vet. Or you should be taking it to the vet, let's say that. So start there. I think that if we can all think about how we have our animals priced and how we are motivated to sell those animals at a cheaper price just because we need to lower the amount that we are holding back in our facility. And I know for some people who've been breeding for many years and been doing this to a much larger scale, that is probably not feasible today, but let's consider trying to work on a measure to get to that point, right? Because that will definitely help change the value perception for our customers. The other thing that I think that we should definitely focus on is the value of the life of the animal. Every customer that I'm coming in contact with or having a conversation with, we're having real conversations about the care of the animal. If it's someone who is not familiar with them, I actually give them feedback where I suggest that this may not be the best animal for them. Mine's anyway, because I have Mainlands. Now, not all of my Mainlands get big. I have Mainlands who are a couple Mainlands that's smaller than Super Dwarfs. So, but in general, the ones that I have, and based on genetics and based on the parents, they're going to get big. And I may suggest a, you know, smaller morph of a reticulated python to that individual and let them ultimately make a decision what they want. But it may not be that the customer relation match is right for me. I have to feel 100% confident when I ship that animal off that it's going to the best of my vetting ability, to the best person who is going to raise it and love it for the term of the life, like I do the parents. And then lastly, education, the value of education. In the event that you are selling to someone who is not educated, I honestly don't recommend that. But if you're selling to someone who is not educated in reticulated pythons, I think as a breeder you have an obligation to make sure that you thoroughly educate that person, invite them to your facility, let them hold your animals at different stages, babies, subadults, adults. Let them be experienced with different personalities. For me, unfortunately, I can't give them too much a variation of personalities because all of my babies are big babies. They are, you know, sweet. I can show them different things that could probably make them more reactive, but they're generally sweet. And if I did that, that would just be, you know, saying, hey, don't do this, or if you do this, see what happens. And I'll give you an example. A couple of my reticulated pythons, when you touch their tail, they'll whip their tail. Not all of them. Some of them, you know, you can just touch their tail, but they'll whip it into wherever they're going to, or bring it closer to them. So I might show someone something as simple as that. That's about all you're gonna get out of my babies. They're not eventful over here. They're not diving out even when you got rabbits out. They're not shooting out the enclosures and things like that over here. So I can't give you that type of eventful stuff. I have pretty simplified reticulated pythons. But the value of education is most important. And I think that if we focus on just these 3 things today, we can work to improve. It's not going to happen overnight. We can work to improve the long-term goal of creating a different perception of value in these animals, finding the best customer for these animals, and at the same time understanding and not contributing to the overproduction of them. That's it. I hope you guys enjoyed. This was a fun video to do. Being in the ball python and reticulated community as a breeder is pretty cool. I will tell you though, this last couple weeks taught me a lot about the reticulated python community that I kind of like isolated myself from for a long time until I started breeding. It does make a difference now because I'm breeding, so I build different relationships now. I kind of liked before just being a keeper and kind of doing my own thing. But you know, I just remind everybody, encourage everybody to remain positive. And if you don't have an action that is without self-motivated reasons, if you don't have the action to improve the community with a good pure heart, you know, not to undermine the next person, then, you know, if we do this with the right intentions, and we can improve the overall feel of the community, and we can improve the overall feel of our community. We can bring back a better culture in the community, and so we can also build a better customer base with those same values. Until later, peace everyone. Peace, peace, peace.